When we begin our morning with the powerful words of Psalm 59, we are making a bold declaration before the day even starts. God is my fortress and my defender. A fortress is not a small shelter or a temporary hiding place. A fortress is strong, immovable, built to withstand attacks. In Psalm 59, David was surrounded by enemies. He was hunted, misunderstood, and threatened. Yet instead of surrendering to fear, he lifted his eyes to God. That is the lesson for us today. No matter what surrounds you, stress, criticism, academic pressure, financial struggles, or uncertainty about the future, you have a divine place of protection. Every day brings its own battles. For students, it may be exams, deadlines, competition, or self-doubt. For parents, it may be responsibilities and worries about providing for their families. For leaders, it may be decisions that affect many lives. Life does not pause because we feel overwhelmed. Challenges do not wait until we feel ready. But Psalm 59 teaches us that readiness does not come from perfect circumstances. It comes from trusting in a perfect God. When you understand that God is your fortress, you stop fighting battles in your own limited strength and start standing in divine security. A fortress provides safety, but it also provides perspective. From inside a fortress, you can see clearly without being easily harmed. In the same way, prayer in the morning gives you perspective before the noise of the world begins. Instead of reacting emotionally to every situation, you respond with wisdom. Instead of panicking when something goes wrong, you remain grounded. When God is your defender, you don't need to defend yourself against every criticism or misunderstanding. You can focus on growth, education, and purpose because you know that your identity is secure. Education is important. Knowledge is powerful. Skills open doors. But without inner stability, even the most educated person can collapse under pressure. Psalm 59 reminds us that spiritual strength must come before public success. David was not confident because of his position or abilities. He was confident because of who God was to him. He declared God as his high tower and refuge. That kind of confidence changes everything. It allows you to walk into a classroom with boldness. It allows you to attend interviews without fear. It allows you to face rejection without losing your value. Sometimes the greatest enemy is not outside of us, but within us: doubt, insecurity, comparison, and fear of failure. When you say, "God is my fortress," you are declaring that negative thoughts do not control you. You are declaring that your worth is not determined by grades, applause, or social media validation. You are protected by divine love and guided by divine wisdom. That assurance gives you courage to try again after failure. It gives you strength to continue studying when you feel tired. It gives you hope when results are delayed. David did not deny the presence of enemies, he acknowledged them. But he refused to give them more attention than he gave to God. That is a powerful principle. Problems are real, but they are not ultimate. Fear may knock on your door, but it does not have permission to stay. When you begin your morning anchored in prayer, you build emotional resilience. You train your heart to trust before trouble even appears. You decide in advance that no matter what happens today, you are covered, defended, and supported by a power greater than yourself. Declaring God as your fortress also means surrendering control. It means admitting that you cannot handle everything alone. And that is not weakness, that is wisdom. Many people break down because they try to carry life by themselves. But when you lean on God, you are not escaping responsibility, you are strengthening your ability to handle it. A defended mind is a focused mind. A peaceful heart learns faster. A confident spirit performs better. As you step into each new morning, let Psalm 59 shape your mindset. Let it remind you that you are not alone in your struggles. You are guarded, guided, and strengthened. Whatever challenges await you, academic, personal, or professional, you can face them with courage. Not because life is easy, but because your foundation is strong. God is your fortress and defender, and with that assurance, you can move forward boldly, peacefully, and purposefully into every opportunity the day brings. When we declare that God is our fortress in difficult times, we are making a decision to trust divine strength over human weakness. In Psalm 59, David was not speaking from a place of comfort. He was surrounded by danger, pursued by enemies, and uncertain about what the next moment would bring. Yet in the middle of that pressure, he chose to call God his refuge and defense. That choice is powerful. It teaches us that faith is not the absence of trouble. It is confidence in the presence of trouble. Every person faces seasons when life feels overwhelming. There are moments when responsibilities pile up, when criticism hurts deeply, and when progress seems slow. In those moments, many people rely only on their own understanding and strength. But human strength has limits. Emotions fluctuate. Motivation fades. Energy runs low. When God becomes your fortress, you are no longer relying on something fragile. You are standing on something eternal. Difficult times reveal what we truly believe. Anyone can speak positively when everything is going well, but real faith shows itself when circumstances are challenging. Students preparing for exams may feel anxiety creeping in. Professionals striving for success may encounter rejection. Families may experience financial pressure. The temptation is to panic or give up. However, when you believe God is your defender, panic is replaced with prayer and fear is replaced with focus. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond with calm assurance. A fortress does not remove the storm, it protects you within it. Likewise, trusting God does not eliminate challenges, but it gives you stability while you face them. Knowing that God is your defender also changes how you handle opposition. Not every battle requires your retaliation. Not every accusation requires your response. David understood this deeply. He placed his situation before God rather than taking revenge into his own hands. There is wisdom in that. When you try to fight every battle yourself, you exhaust your energy. But when you trust God to defend you, you preserve your peace. Peace is powerful. It allows you to concentrate on growth rather than conflict. It enables you to invest in your education, career, and spiritual development without being distracted by negativity. When your heart is guarded by faith, you are less shaken by external noise. Waiting with confidence instead of worry is another profound lesson drawn from Psalm 59. Waiting is often one of the hardest spiritual disciplines. We live in a world that celebrates speed and instant results. We want quick answers, rapid success, and immediate breakthroughs. But growth rarely happens overnight. Seeds take time to grow. Skills take time to develop. Wisdom takes time to mature. David expressed confidence while he waited on God. He did not allow delay to weaken his trust. That kind of patience is not passive, it is active expectation. It is choosing to believe that even when you cannot see progress, God is still working. In education and personal development, waiting plays a significant role. A student may study hard, yet not see immediate improvement. A professional may work diligently without instant promotion. An entrepreneur may invest time and resources before seeing profit. Waiting can create doubt if faith is absent. But when you anchor yourself in God, waiting becomes preparation instead of frustration. You begin to understand that seasons of delay are often seasons of development. Character is refined in quiet moments. Strength is built in unseen struggles. Confidence grows when you continue moving forward despite uncertainty. Worry drains energy, but confidence preserves it. When you worry, your thoughts become scattered and your productivity decreases. When you wait with faith, your mind remains clear and your spirit steady. Trusting God during uncertain times gives you emotional endurance. It teaches you resilience. You learn that setbacks are not permanent and that silence does not mean abandonment. Sometimes the waiting period is where God shapes your patience, humility, and perseverance. Both trusting God as your fortress and waiting with confidence require surrender. They require releasing control and believing that God's timing and protection are greater than your fears. This does not mean you stop working or striving. Instead, you work with peace rather than pressure. You strive with hope rather than desperation. You prepare diligently while trusting God for the outcome. That balance creates sustainable success. When you wake each morning and remind yourself that God is your fortress and defender, and that you will wait with confidence rather than worry, you set the tone for victory. You step into your day grounded, focused, and resilient. Challenges may still arise, but they will not define you. Delays may still happen, but they will not defeat you. Your strength will not depend on circumstances, but on the unchanging character of God. And with that assurance, you can pursue your goals, embrace your education, and face every obstacle with courage and unwavering faith. Fear does not have the final word when your trust is anchored in God. In Psalm 59, David faced real threats. His enemies were not imaginary. They surrounded him, watched him, and waited for opportunities to attack. Yet in the middle of that reality, David refused to allow fear to control his voice or determine his future. Instead of declaring defeat, he declared confidence in God's protection. That decision teaches us something powerful. Fear may speak, but it does not get to decide the outcome of our lives. Fear is a natural emotion, but it is a poor leader. If you allow fear to guide your decisions, it will shrink your dreams, weaken your courage, and limit your potential. Many people experience fear in different forms. Students fear failure. Professionals fear rejection. Leaders fear criticism. Families fear uncertainty about tomorrow. Fear often whispers that you are not good enough, not prepared enough, not strong enough. It magnifies problems and minimizes possibilities. But when you understand that God is your defender, fear begins to lose its authority. You start to recognize that challenges are temporary, but God's strength is permanent. This shift in perspective transforms how you approach obstacles. Instead of retreating, you move forward with faith. Instead of remaining silent about your goals, you pursue them boldly. Faith does not deny the presence of fear, it overrules it. David did not pretend danger did not exist. He acknowledged it, but he chose to focus more on God's power than on the threat around him. That is a critical lesson for personal growth and education. You may feel nervous before an exam or uncertain before a big opportunity. Those feelings are human. However, you must decide which voice you will amplify. Will you amplify doubt, or will you amplify trust? When you meditate on God's faithfulness, courage rises within you. Confidence grows not because you are perfect, but because you are supported by divine strength. Turning struggles into songs of praise is another life-changing principle found in Psalm 59. Despite everything David faced, he ended his prayer with praise. That is remarkable. Praise in the middle of problems is an act of spiritual maturity. It means you are not waiting for circumstances to improve before expressing gratitude. Instead, you choose gratitude as a weapon against discouragement. When you praise God during hardship, you shift your focus from what is wrong to what is still right. You remind yourself that even in difficulty, you are sustained, protected, and guided. Praise changes your internal atmosphere. Complaining increases stress, but gratitude increases resilience. When you constantly speak about your problems, they seem larger. When you speak about God's goodness, your problems seem smaller in comparison. This does not mean you ignore reality. It means you frame reality through faith. In education and career pursuits, there will be moments of disappointment. Results may not match expectations. Plans may not unfold as intended. If you allow frustration to dominate your mindset, you may lose motivation. But if you learn to praise even in small progress, you maintain momentum. Gratitude also strengthens emotional health. A thankful heart experiences greater peace and clarity. When you are grateful, you think more creatively and act more confidently. You recognize opportunities where others see only obstacles. Praise fuels perseverance. It reminds you why you started and encourages you to continue. David's example shows that worship is not just a religious act, it is a strategy for endurance. It lifts your spirit above temporary setbacks and anchors you in lasting hope. When fear tries to declare the end of your story, faith declares a new beginning. When struggle tries to silence your joy, praise restores it. These principles work together. Courage grows when fear is challenged by faith. Strength multiplies when gratitude replaces complaint. You become spiritually and emotionally stronger when you refuse to let negative emotions dictate your direction. God as your defender means you are never fighting alone. It means your challenges are seen, your prayers are heard, and your future is secure. Every morning offers a choice. You can allow fear to define your expectations, or you can choose faith to shape your perspective. You can allow struggles to harden your heart, or you can transform them into praise that strengthens your spirit. When you embrace the truth that fear does not have the final word, and that praise has the power to shift your mindset, you step into your day empowered. You pursue your goals with confidence. You face difficulties with resilience. You grow through challenges instead of shrinking because of them. And in every season, you remain anchored in the assurance that God is your fortress, your defender, and the ultimate source of your victory. Declaring God's protection over your future is a powerful act of faith that shapes the direction of your life. In Psalm 59, David did more than ask for help in the present moment. He expressed confidence in God's continued protection and faithfulness. He looked beyond the immediate danger and placed his trust in the God who sees tomorrow. That mindset is essential for anyone who desires growth, success, and inner peace. Your future is influenced not only by your actions, but also by your beliefs. When you consistently declare that God is your fortress and defender, you are building a foundation of confidence that carries you forward. Speaking protection over your life is not about ignoring reality or pretending that challenges do not exist. It is about aligning your words with faith rather than fear. Words are powerful. They shape thoughts, and thoughts influence decisions. If you constantly speak doubt over your future, you will approach opportunities with hesitation. If you repeatedly declare failure, you may subconsciously prepare for defeat. However, when you speak with assurance that God is guiding and defending you, your posture changes. You walk differently. You think differently. You prepare differently. Confidence begins to replace insecurity. Your future often feels uncertain because it has not yet unfolded. Students wonder about their careers. Professionals question whether their efforts will pay off. Families think about long-term stability. This uncertainty can create anxiety. But when you declare God's protection over your future, you are acknowledging that, while you may not know every detail, you trust the one who does. Trust removes the burden of trying to control everything. It frees you to focus on what you can do today while believing that tomorrow is already in capable hands. Faith-filled declarations also strengthen perseverance. There will be seasons when progress seems slow. You may work diligently and still not see immediate results. During such times, doubt can creep in and whisper that your efforts are meaningless. But when you have already declared that your future is protected and guided by God, you are less likely to quit. You understand that setbacks are not signs of abandonment. Instead, they may be part of preparation. Growth often happens quietly before it becomes visible. Seeds develop underground before they break through the surface. In the same way, your skills, character, and resilience are being developed, even when you cannot see outward success. Declaring God's protection over your education and career brings clarity to your goals. When your future is surrendered to God, you are not driven solely by competition or comparison. You pursue excellence not to prove your worth, but because you understand your worth is already secure. That shift reduces unhealthy pressure. It allows you to learn with curiosity rather than fear. It encourages you to improve without being paralyzed by the possibility of mistakes. A defended future creates a peaceful present. This principle also impacts how you handle unexpected changes. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. Opportunities may close, paths may shift, dreams may evolve. Without faith, these changes can feel devastating. But when you have declared that God is your defender and guide, you become adaptable. You trust that even redirections can lead to greater purpose. Instead of seeing closed doors as final rejection, you begin to see them as divine protection from what was not meant for you. Speaking protection over your family and loved ones brings emotional stability as well. Worrying constantly about the future drains energy and clouds judgment. Prayerful declarations replace excessive worry with hopeful expectation. You still plan responsibly and act wisely, but you do so without being consumed by fear. Peace enhances decision-making. It allows you to approach responsibilities thoughtfully rather than reactively. Ultimately, declaring God's protection over your future builds a life anchored in hope. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is confident expectation rooted in faith. When you begin each day affirming that your steps are ordered, your path is guarded, and your destiny is secure, you strengthen your inner resolve. Challenges may arise, but they will not define you. Delays may occur, but they will not destroy your determination. You move forward with courage because you believe that your life is not governed by chance, but guided by divine wisdom. As you continue your journey, let your words reflect your faith. Declare strength when you feel weak. Declare guidance when you feel uncertain. Declare protection when you feel vulnerable. In doing so, you train your mind to align with trust rather than fear. And when trust becomes your foundation, you approach the future not with anxiety, but with bold expectation, knowing that God is your fortress, your defender, and the faithful guardian of everything that lies ahead. Trusting God as your fortress requires more than words. It requires surrendering control and believing that His strength is greater than your understanding. In Psalm 59, David did not place his confidence in weapons, status, or personal strategy alone. He recognized that true security came from God. Surrender is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it is one of the greatest demonstrations of spiritual maturity. It means acknowledging that while you are responsible for effort, you are not in ultimate control of outcomes. Many people exhaust themselves trying to manage every detail of their lives. They try to predict every challenge, solve every problem immediately, and protect themselves from every possible disappointment. This constant striving creates anxiety and fatigue. However, when you surrender your plans to God, you exchange pressure for peace. Surrender does not mean you stop working toward your goals. It does not mean you abandon ambition or ignore responsibility. Instead, it means you work diligently while trusting God with what you cannot control. There is a difference between effort and anxiety. Effort is productive, anxiety is draining. When you operate from a surrendered heart, your effort becomes focused and healthy. You study because you value growth, not because you are terrified of failure. You pursue opportunities because you are inspired, not because you are desperate for validation. You plan wisely, but you do not panic when plans shift. One of the greatest benefits of surrendering control is clarity. When you are overwhelmed by the need to control everything, your thinking becomes clouded. Fear distorts judgment. Impatience leads to rushed decisions. But when you place your trust in God as your defender, your mind becomes calmer. A calm mind sees options more clearly. It listens more carefully. It evaluates situations more wisely. Peace enhances perception. This is especially important in education and leadership. A surrendered heart allows you to learn from mistakes rather than being crushed by them. It enables you to accept correction without feeling attacked. You become teachable because your identity is secure. Surrender also strengthens resilience. When setbacks occur, and they will, you are less likely to interpret them as personal failures. Instead, you see them as part of a larger journey. If your entire sense of security depends on perfect results, any imperfection will shake you. But if your security is rooted in God, you can withstand temporary disappointments. David faced repeated challenges throughout his life, yet his trust in God remained steady. He understood that human plans may fail, but God's purpose endures. That perspective builds endurance. It keeps you moving forward even when progress feels slow. Another key element of surrender is humility. Humility opens the door to growth. When you admit that you do not have all the answers, you become open to guidance. You listen more carefully to wise counsel. You pray more sincerely for direction. Pride insists on control. Humility invites partnership with God. In surrender, you are not abandoning responsibility. You are acknowledging partnership. You do your part faithfully, and you trust God to do what only He can do. Surrendering control also protects your emotional health. Constantly trying to manage every outcome creates chronic stress. Stress affects concentration, creativity, and physical well-being. When you release the illusion of control, you free yourself from unnecessary burdens. You recognize that while preparation is essential, perfection is not required. This realization allows you to approach life with balanced determination. You strive for excellence without being paralyzed by the fear of mistakes. Trusting God as your fortress means you can rest internally even while working externally. You can be ambitious without being anxious. You can be determined without being desperate. You can be hopeful without being afraid of disappointment. That balance produces sustainable success. It prevents burnout and protects your joy. Many people achieve goals but lose peace in the process. Surrender ensures that peace remains intact while progress unfolds. As you continue your journey, remember that surrender is not a one-time decision but a daily practice. Each morning, you may need to release new worries, new expectations, and new uncertainties to God. Each day offers another opportunity to trust rather than control. When you consistently choose surrender, you build a life anchored in faith. You walk forward with confidence, knowing that your efforts are supported by divine guidance. You face challenges without being overwhelmed, because you understand that you are not carrying them alone. In the end, surrender leads to strength. It transforms fear into faith, pressure into peace, and striving into steady progress. When God is truly your fortress and defender, you are free to live boldly, work faithfully, and rest confidently, knowing that your life is held securely in hands far greater than your own.